Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale.
All your good, yes? I was lining with some old men before the election, and well, I was amazed of their discussion. They were discussing the election of 2025, how Africans were selling cheap and UNC buying dead or alive. One old man shout out, fellas, give me your attention. UNC can't win by themselves, no election. You see, they're sitting and they're planning to make a decision. So she called out Shilaga, who the old FIFA wanted man. She said, call the trade union, let we start negotiations. And we could call out a big sale and we go buy out some Africans. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale.
We buying Africans.
Sing the thing.
Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. We buying Africans.
She don't have all she chance and she the honor rhymes. No, what she need is some slave names, man, some big strong Africans.
Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. We buying good or bad. Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. Tobago and Trinidad.
Oh, somebody pinch me. Hey, UNC sitting and they're waiting patiently. With about 16 safe seats, they don't win that already. The woman said, I have my people, and they are born UNCs. Now all I need is some Africans who got their names out of slavery. She said that she hear they're really selling cheap, and she could buy them very cheap, 500 and a jersey. A lot of people will cry when she's finished with Siparia, because she is not holding back 10p and them have nothing to get. She said this party be for country, all you never, never forget. She will care for her people and she have no blasting regrets.
Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. We buying Africans.
She buying
Africans for sale, for sale.
Listen,
we buying Africans.
she said, we like crab in a barrel, we pulling each other down. But I want their votes, so I jam them the winning song. And so they know it.
Africans
when you see wins, everybody wins.
Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. Tobago and Trinidad.
Hey, who called me? I want this verse slow, right? Black minds in Tobago, she's working on them with ease, but she's not afraid because monkeys say cool breeze. She said the last time she was easy, this time there is no room for mistakes, cause when she's done with Tobago, it's either they make or break. She has her eyes on Maruga, especially Samuel Cooper. They got a lot of P&M houses, but none of them can remember. She's buying some in 6 company because they're nice, they're bad and they're trim. Their ancestors came from Africa and all of them is Americans. She passed through 5 company and she bunks up Madingo. Well, boy, she makes she name cause she gets Africans for Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. Africans for sale, for sale. Listen this.
We buying Africans.
Dog Fizerbad was pretty serious with her reading the cemetery. He said, I'm waiting for refinery point. That man had to be crazy. What?
Africans for sale, for
man, so. She said my people are loyal. They don't vote for other parties. But them PNM people just show them some money, staggered roti. She said I have my safe seats in the safe hands of Caroni. She go on to St. Cuba, straight down to Siparia. She said I love my people. For 10 years we out in the rain. But when I get back in there, things will never be the same. To all of my people, you must get your rightful place. And I don't care who's sitting there and think I am talking race. You all know what's hurting me. You see that, Dr. Rowley? We don't hide up all we money. The damn man change the currency. Hey! Africans
For sale,
Hey,
for sale,
hey,
for sale.
hey.
We buying Africans.
Kill them.
Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. We buying Africans.
They bought out PSA. They got them for 10%. Now they could beat the chest and laugh because they know it's money well spent. All your love, all your
Africans for sale, for sale, for sale. We buying good or bad.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Renison Jeffrey. This is the Workers' Rights Platform. We are broadcasting live on the Workers' Rights Network. Today is the 5th of the 3rd month, 2026. Now is exactly 24 minutes after the hour of 1 o'clock. And today, like any other day, Trinidad and Tobago, we are here to discuss what is taking place in this country. Now, many of you would have reached out to me on a single premise. And the premise that many of you would have reached out to me on is based on this SOE. And what I would have said during the last broadcast. So, Trinidad and Tobago, it is clear, and without a shadow of a doubt, that this government is a failure. And the sooner we reach to this realization here in Trinidad and Tobago, is the closer to good governance we will become. Now, during this SOE, we would have witnessed the government. Yes, the government. The government of this country behaving in a particular way. And I would have seen throughout social media that when I would have made that broad statement yesterday, everybody else gets sense. Everybody else gets smart. And everybody else could tell you that this suspended right that the government seek to impose on us here in this country is not just illegal. No court in the world is going to support this prime minister on that. Now they could come and tell you, don't march it. They could come and tell you, close down this year today. But we must, in all instances here in Trinidad and Tobago, be prepared to tell the government enough is enough. Kamla Bisesa is going too far. And the ministers that follow under Kamla Bisesa already sold out. And it's the same ministers going and ask many of you for a second term in office. So good evening to everyone who is now joining here on this live. Good evening to Wint that is on TikTok. Good evening to the plethora of you that are joining us here on YouTube. Good afternoon to you. I am here today to tell you, hold the front line. There are a lot of people, there are a lot of African people too, that sell the soul and trying to sell another African. You see, we have to talk the thing plain, and it ain't no way else than we could talk this thing but plain. It ain't no way else that we could talk the truth without being offensive, because there are certain people that will sell you for nothing, sell you for a trip or a BMW. We had to talk it, because when they behind closed doors, that is how they talk it too. So the thing is here, Trinidad and Tobago, the broad claim that I would have made is that this SOE is illegal business. The suspension of our rights by this present government is illegal. Now, just to add to not to invent the wheel again, for the sake of time, let me go in straight into some of the clips that today we could delineate over. So I see Rhoda Barrett would have taken shame out of her face. Yeah, we know she had a little court battle, and now it's not time to be shamed. Now it's time to be bold and brave. So Rhoda Barrett would have made a claim, and the same thing we would have said, but you don't like when we say. Let me bring this here to the forefront. And you go see just now, a lot of activists is going to be saying the same thing. So this here was the message after yesterday. I would have listened to the press conference of the opposition, listened to the press conference of the Prime Minister, where she wasn't present, talked to a couple of lawyers internationally, and today Trinidad and Tobago are not only going on march, I am going on demonstrate. And anybody who want to join that march, I, Renison Jeffrey, would have established a code of conduct and a litany of speakers that will be not only there, that will be organizing the thing. And I'm going to read out the code of conduct, but let me go into Rhoda Barrett's statement before we go on here this afternoon.
Right, so one more thing before I get ready and head to do the people work. The reason that the state of emergency has to have all of these weird orders about intercepting, about confiscating people's devices and about what people may or may not post on social media is that the UNC's social media campaign, their social media plan failed. You would have remembered, and I'm trying to do this real quick, right? You would have remembered that when they got into office last year, if the elections was the 28th of April Results came out on the 29th. By the evening of the 29th, all of the government social media channels and platforms then were shut down and scrubbed, right? Or most of them were shut down and scrubbed. They started with OPM and then they shut down and scrubbed a whole bunch of other pages for the various government ministries. And they wiped the information I was there and they started putting up new information. Then they would have ensured that all of the like regular community grassroots bloggers, so Matara, Twiggy, NCW or Baby Teeth or whoever, all I know the persons, all I know their names better than I know their names. They all got jobs at WASA. And I mean, since they've gotten those jobs at WASA, they've been decidedly quiet on social media. You don't see them or hear them on social media commenting on or critiquing anything that is going on with respect to the government or talking about any social programs or lack of social programs, right? So they've gone quiet. Then you would have had three, not one, not two, three government ministers or three persons appointed into ministries meant to be serving as government ministers, but really and truly what they're doing is spending a lot of time on social media every day, either doing regular morning live programs, posting all day long, staying out of the lane, and in other instances just saying very nasty, racist, divisive things on social media, right? And it's three ministers, at minimum three ministers doing that. Then you would have persons who are either counselors or boyfriends of ministers running platforms like Kick Out the PNM and making sure that they put up posts on a regular basis with respect to government affiliated pages, right? And I don't mean government pages, I mean like pages that are affiliated with the United National Congress. So you have scrubbed government websites, right, with revised information on it. You have silenced social media personalities and given them jobs. You've hired other people because within OPM there are at least two hired communication specialists, and I think it's maybe about three hired communication specialists right now just inside OPM alone. I'm not talking about all of the other ministries. All of the other ministries have social media teams. OPM in and of itself has three persons that have been hired to deal up with the government's digital communication strategy. And despite all of that, despite all of those things, their social media strategy has failed because a lot gets shared, a lot gets leaked out, a lot gets put into the public domain that shows how poor their performance as a government has been, and the fact that they don't really have a plan for how they're planning to run the country, and also the racism, the malfeasance, the corruption that is all, building and growing. So because their social media strategy in under a year, because they haven't been in office a year yet, they've been in office about 10 months. In under a year, their social media strategy has collapsed, despite how wide-reaching and broad they have they built it. It has collapsed. They now have to find a way. Well, this is their last-ditch effort, I would say, right? Threatening how people using social media, what people sharing on social media. This is their last-ditch effort. And so what they're going to do now is threaten people's jobs and threaten people's livelihoods because they will want people to be so fearful about losing their jobs and their livelihoods that they stop sharing information, they stop commenting on things, they stop posting things because the government is extremely fearful of that. What you choose to do is entirely your business. I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm not telling people whether to share or not to share. I'm going to say that I don't plan to stop. That's all I will say. I don't plan to stop. And I want to say a pleasant good morning to Alistair Guevara and the Research and Analysis Unit. I want to say a pleasant good morning to all of the fellas and them in the Research and Analysis Unit. Morning, right? So yeah, I don't plan to stop, but I just wanted to say this second thing, that it is clear to me, based on how panicked they've become and the measures that they have put into this new SOE/ZOSO, because it really is a ZOSO in disguise, that they are worried about the failure of their social media campaign, right? I had to go because the dog's barking outside, which means Stella going to start to make real noise.
Right. Now, Trinidad and Tobago. Despite the fact that they intend to come with this whole scenario here with SOE, I, Renison Jeffrey, I have no fear for them. And I would have indicated that yesterday. Because what I am doing here on a daily basis have nothing to do with public health and public safety. What I am doing here is about governance and about my disapproval to what I am seeing here on a daily basis. So I have no fear of the government. I respect for law and order in Trinidad and Tobago, but I fear no man. Let that sink in for a while. So the peaceful protest code of conduct is as follow, in which I am going to do. I want to see who caught in Trinidad and Tobago, or who police want to tell me don't keep no peaceful march, because I'll go inform or I'll go tell her when I go in and do it. Within the limits at the time. And the code of conduct that we would have voted on, the team of people, all parties that is attending this protest must follow. A commitment to non-violence, no weapons, no physical confrontation, no damage to property, no threat, no threatening language. Respect for law enforcement. Follow lawful instruction from the police. Do not obstruct emergency services. Maintain calm in all interaction. Lawful messaging. No incitement to break laws. No call for violence. No threat. No hate speech. Discipline in speech. Focus on policies, not personal attacks. Avoid inflammatory language. Keep message clear, factual and firm. Social medical conduct. Do not share rumors. Do not share unverified claim. Do not post content encouraging confrontation. Clarify that all actions are peaceful. Crowd responsibility. Designate marshals, in which we are going to do maintain order, prevent escalation, document interaction where appropriate. So there are going to be a team of us on the ground, and we are committed to law and order in this country. And in this instance, we are going to give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. And we will take what belongs to us constitutionally. And no government in this country is going to stop me. You can put it in rule if you want to. It's going to stop me. I mean, you could do it in it. You could rule man for me before detention if you want to, you know. But the threat of that will not stop me from demonstration my constitutional rights on behalf of the people in my constituency and by extension the country. Too much of people is crying out. Too much of people is speaking out. I ain't telling you to think but demonstrate. The hell with Kamla Bisasa and her ministers, because at this point in time we would have seen a very disturbing trend in Trinidad and Tobago that we have no other choice than to point out. And in our discussion prior, let me highlight Edie Stewart. Despite SOE, healthcare workers to proceed with protests despite SOE. A gentleman that have some kahunas. And I'm showing you this Trinidad and Tobago, you know, for you to understand. That's not inciting. But they will try. And brother, I stand with you. But despite that Trinidad and Tobago, there are other individuals like Saddam Hussein. I would have seen a post from him, would have stated that he stands with the government. Now, when I'm not getting the gentleman wrong, I mean, you could stand with whoever. Penny blast Kamla over new SOE. UNC government has no crime plan, and so true. Now, there is a disturbing trend that I am seeing, and when I would have made a statement on the beginning of the show, I would have told you, Trinidad and Tobago, that any minister that have nothing to say right about now have already sold you out. And you cannot have, or you must not give, a matter of fact, any minister your support that at this junction, Kamla Persad could do what she could kill a man. And these men and them is going to agree with her, regardless to what. And we must call it out. Saddam Hussein is another one. He would have surprised me the most. Not seeing that he would have come out and made a statement when Barry Padarad would have announced the firing of over 10,000 people, that he would have called for documents only after the fact, not before. Nobody in cautioning nobody. Other men like Anisette, he cautioned the government, and why don't come out and say something? Call for an interview, let me interview here, because there are many things that we want answered. We want to know if Roger paying back that 40 million. How much he paying, how much Kiza paying in that? How much the executive paying? How much OWTU building that he had to sell to pay back that money? Or did he sign a gag order that Kamla might pay some? That is what we want to ask. That is what we want to ask Trinidad and Tobago. Now, as I said to you, there are a lot of people outside here would have came on the bandwagon and started joining the thing and give the thing a little more credence. But the reason why the SOE Trinidad have been called, when everybody else is saying something different, the government of Trinidad and Tobago simply do not want to be questioned by you, the citizen. And the number one thing is that they believe that you is beneath them. Number one thing, they are not allowing themselves to be governed. So they call a SOE to control everything else outside our government. Let me play this speech from Mickela Panday. You see, we are going to it, we are to understand there are people, powerful people, that have powerful perspectives about what is taking place. Clip number 2. Listen to Mickela Panday. I ain't going to play all. A matter of fact, it's a short clip. Let me play Mickela Panday.
Today, Trinidad and Tobago finds itself once again under a state of emergency. No one can deny that crime has shaken public confidence and created deep concern across our nation. Citizens are frustrated, families are worried, communities want relief. Criminals must be caught, prosecuted, and punished. But emergency powers must target criminals, not weaken constitutional protections for the innocent. A state of emergency is not a crime plan. A state of emergency is a temporary legal mechanism. It is not policing reform. It is not intelligence reform. It is not prosecution reform. And it is certainly not a substitute for a long-term strategy. After almost a year in office, the country needs to know what structural changes have been made to reduce crime. When we examine the emergency powers regulations, there are serious constitutional concerns that every law-abiding citizen should understand. In certain cases under these regulations, the writ of habeas corpus is suspended. That means a citizen may be detained without immediate access to a judge to challenge that detention. Homes may be entered and searched without a warrant, without prior approval from a court. That means a police officer can enter your home based on suspicion alone, without first going before a judge. Speech deemed prejudicial to public safety may become an offense, including how citizens express opinions publicly or online. These are extraordinary powers, and extraordinary powers demand extraordinary safeguards. Protecting constitutional rights does not protect criminals. It protects innocent citizens from the misuse of power. Strong governments do not fear judicial oversight. Strong governments welcome it because accountability strengthens public confidence. It does not weaken it. We must therefore ask a simple question. If this is the crime strategy, what happens when the state of emergency ends? What permanent systems have been strengthened? What conviction rates have been improved? What networks have been dismantled? Crime will not be solved by repeatedly suspending normal legal safeguards. It will be solved by intelligence-led policing, stronger prosecution, securing our borders, and ensuring that cases result in convictions. We can fight crime decisively and still defend the Constitution. In fact, we must do both, because we cannot build national security by weakening constitutional security. Trinidad and Tobago deserves safety, and it deserves solutions that protect both our security and our Constitution. I thank you, and God bless.
So those who was listening on yesterday, we would have posed a litany of questions concerning the SOE. The SOE, I mean, if the government say they're strong enough to fight crime, they should also be strong enough to withstand dissenting voices. But that again is to show the weaknesses of this government. You see, the main question within this whole thing with the SOE that they're trying to run away from is who determines who is a criminal during an SOE. Who determines who is the criminal? Does suspicion equal guilt? Because we would have seen throughout the last SOE, the police would have suspected several people of crime, and they had to let go a whole over 100 of those without a charge. Is suspicion equals guilt in this SOE? Are we going to continue to allow the police in Trinidad and Tobago to continually operate by suspicion and paralyze this country. And not only the police operating on suspicion of guilt, the government is doing it likewise. Because the last SOE that would have been pronounced on us and extend and extend and extend, the government would have clearly stated that they are operating on suspicion. So here it is, the SOE that have been extended twice, over 100 people was not charged. So how could we, in any logical sense of the word logic, could wholeheartedly support this SOE? And you know what's funny about it? Is to hear some of the comments some of the times from business people, from the business chamber. Well, we know all the ministers and them in the UNC is going to agree no matter what. Padarat, all of them going to agree. Because they have no other choice than to agree. And that's supposed to tell you something. The people that they are presiding over, they are no longer fit to preside in the station that they are in. Here it is, over 100,000, over 100 people was released without a charge. That would have proved that the government of this country is operating on suspicion. What protection exists for innocent citizens wrongfully detained? What compensation mechanism exists for wrongful detention? But we will see young people speaking out concerning the same thing. And there will be other people that will try to clone you all. This gentleman here would have started the process. Because when people talking logic, they are not trying to kill you with logic at all. They are coming with foolishness no matter what. Here, this gentleman, and I wanted to think in it because we went and we played the gentleman yesterday. And don't fall prey to no kind of, as did I say, pressure, peer pressure. Watch how he snarls into pressuring you to believing that you's a fool. But ignore the laugh.
Your thoughts on this?
The SOE is infringing on your constitution.
Of course it is.
The amount of people I've seen saying this in comment sections or different posts in WhatsApp groups. And my question is this: are you a criminal? How is the SOE in, messing with your constitutional rights? How? How? Make it make sense. How are we doing it?
The SOE is infringing on people's constitutional rights by limiting their ability to process, to protest and to demonstrate in a particular way. And if that is not the case, the government is not coming here to clear it up and say, well, it's all right for you to do certain things. They would have left the context so broad to create what is created now, pandemonium and fear. Go ahead. Go ahead.
If you are a criminal, this only affects you. And still, to a certain capacity, it don't affect criminals because what? The criminals and them still going and come out and try to do what they're supposed to do. The reality of it is this. Under PNM and under UNC, no SOE has ever borrowed my constitutional rights. I've always been able to go where I want, come back when I want. It never had a curfew.
Now, the man changed the scope of the whole discussion there. It turns from people constitutional rights to your personal experience. And you have to be very clever in it, people. When people start to give you analysis in the public domain and the switch, that right here is a bait and switch. It went from, in the beginning, people talking about their constitutional rights have been and then you jump in here now to say it ain't but my constitutional rights. And everybody that jumped to listen by Miss Major.
Because they never implement one. And people are custom moving freely. The only time you have to be worried about a SOE is if you know you are nonsense. Now, a lot of people saying, but bro, this is going to work. How it's not going to work? So the other day, a couple of guys was detained. And we had the whole thing with the lockdown Aruka and the detention place and whatever the case may be. And they had to let these men out after a period of time. Now, guess what? The reality of it is this. The men who call in the shots, nobody not touching them. Because you see, if they really have something to tie them to shit that happening out in the public domain, other than the anti-gang legislation that could be put into effect based on the SOE. But the reality of it is this. This is a Peter pay for Paul and Paul pay for everybody syndrome. If you know that you have men under you that they're stressing people, right? Because let me be honest, the boss not coming out and do the work, you know. He are meant to go do that. Now, if men coming out and doing the work and they're stressing the place and having average citizens feeling unsafe, the government can't get to the boss because why? The boss, as far as he's concerned, he have things to protect him. You understand? So, how else do you go after the boss? Anti-gang legislation, SOE.
You see when somebody misinformed and they're talking stupidness with confidence, that is a result of that way now, see. When a person engage in foolishness with confidence, you're seeing that. Now Trinidad and Tobago, you see, before I didn't have this one line up here, let me bring this second analogy into perspective here. Because I want you to see where we're going with this here, this afternoon. The second analogy is this. And this would have embodied my entire statement here today. Let me play this clip here. And after we will come back on the back end and we go chop this thing up.
The government caused a great deal of consternation among the citizenry and members of the public generally. There's been particular focus on the aspect which appears to try to limit or put a muzzle on freedom of expression. And that is the section which says at section 11, no person shall endeavor, whether orally or otherwise, to influence public opinion in a manner likely to be prejudicial to public safety. Now, while one may understand the overarching and overriding intention, it appears that the wording of this section is very broadly set out, and it is as deep as it is wide. How do you limit this in the sense of saying, well, okay, what is likely to be prejudicial to public safety? And who makes that final determination? Is it the Commissioner of Police? Is it the Minister of National Security? And where is the limit to it? Where does it end? In other words, it's not just the individual freedom of expression that one has to take into account here. It also may have broader and wider implications for freedom of the press, in the sense that if it is that a media house or a newspaper article or a newspaper editorial, maybe, disagrees with this and, probably publishes something that, chastises, the government or, for, maybe this very provision or for some other, act or, inaction, then could it be said that that is prejudicial to public safety? So it would appear that the framers of this particular provision ought to have put some guardrails around it to more clearly define what they would consider as acts prejudicial to public safety, and given some, examples or some scenarios so that there could be some guidance for persons going forward. When one juxtaposes this against the Sedition Act, which is present on the laws of Trinidad and Tobago, you would see that in the Sedition Act, they go into details and, give you scenarios whereby you can clearly understand, okay, yes, this is a seditious act. However, under this legislation, this, these SOE regulations, it appears to be very vaguely worded so that it can encompass a wide range of actions or inactions as things which are considered prejudicial to public safety. So it would seem that, this ought to have been refined and defined and circumscribed in a manner such that it does not appear to be not just impinging upon and infringing upon individual freedom of expression, but also the broader topic of freedom of the press. We accept that our present Sedition Act is inadequate and is in need of reform, and we've heard, government officials in the past speak about reforming it, and we've seen that it failed when when Mr. Abu Bakr was charged. The act did not seem to do what the authorities wanted it to do when he was charged. Then we also saw it being applied more recently in the case of the Canadian vlogger, Mr. Chris List, whereby, his, videography was deemed to be seditious. So we know that the current legislation is in need of reform. But to put something that does not appear now to have sufficient constraints or definitions or restrictions so that it can be clear to the public as to what categories of actions or what scenarios may constitute acts prejudicial to public safety. It makes it a wide sweeping scenario so that it creates some element of concern among the citizens.
And Trinidad and Tobago, what element of concern do you think that will create among the citizens? And it's simple for you to understand, what Kamla Bisesa and Gerald, the commissioner, the attorney general, Jeremy, want that law to do is to inject fear inside of here. Nobody could turn a wrong thing right. They could try to. But our basic constitutional rights is not just enshrined within Trinidad and Tobago, and that is what makes it different. It's human rights across the world that was given to all of us. And by this single act here in this country, in which this government is engaging, could affect a lot of things throughout the world. So here, Trinidad and Tobago, again, I go say it again, we must be prepared to tell this government enough is enough. But to switch from that topic, there was an incident that would have taken place in Siparia with Chanka Tiloxin. And that goes to show, and it's all of them have the fever, you know. Imagine that was to suspend the deputy mayor in Siparia. And questions on the ground is that every time I see the man, I see him always stick up close to the MP. And there were people mentioning, hey, Chanka feel is the new MP for Point. You see, the people were so disenfranchised, they went a particular way. They went the way of the UNC. Plenty people cussing right now. Plenty people wish they could go and vote again right now. And what would have taken place is a microcosm to what is taking place generally with general government, central government. And if Trinidad and Tobago, you didn't see the video, this is the video here.
When it came to Cedros district, and I was raising the issue of some public health issue in the captive area, where there are some clog drains that almost 2 months now we are asking for assistance with mechanical equipment to declog those drains, deseal those drains and so on. There was an issue that the Alderman Max Incident started to cross-talk while I was on the floor. So I asked the question and a very firm voice stating that, okay, Chairman, what is going on? I'm on my feet, right? The Chairman then indicated at that point in time that continue while the Alderman continued to actually interrupt my contribution on representing the people of the electoral district of Cedros. At that point in time, I asked again, I intervened, and I said, well, what is going on? What is going on here? In a very firm voice. And the Chairman said that he's the Chairman, and stand up and started to quote from the, asked me to take my seat. I remained standing. I said, no, the Alderman is on his feet. I am here representing Cedros. And this is my time that I have to, he said, so you are refusing the instruction of the chair? I said, I'm not refusing the instruction of the chair, but you have to abide with the other guy, or the Alderman on the other side, which is a PNM Alderman, right? He started to quote from he suspended me first. He didn't use due process, firstly. He's supposed to break the meeting, right? And ask for 5 minutes or recess. He didn't do that. He went straight to the standing orders and used the standing orders and actually said that I should be removed.
All right, in our meeting today, the councillor for CJUS was making a contribution, and during his contribution, he began to have loud outbursts. I cautioned him as the chair regarding his behavior, and he did not in any way acknowledge the chair or showed respect to the chair.
Now, what people don't understand is there is another video. There is another video. Now, in that video that you now see, you see two completely different stories from what the alderman, the deputy mayor would have been saying, from what you see in the video. Is one thing to lie, and it's another thing to tell the people that we win, this is UNC, we win. But Chankati Luxon believe that we don't have a dossier information. We open a file on it too, in which we was mapping the movement of the alderman, of the deputy mayor. This is not a game when you end up in office and you ought to have respect for the people. You ought to have respect for your fellow men. You ought to have respect. Kamla doesn't have no respect already. You understand? So, on a later date, Trinidad and Tobago, we are going to bring, you see, it's not my place for me to come out here and talk certain things here. I mean, Victor Roberts go come here again, in which he will explain this whole thing in full, and I go give him that play. Yeah, so I ain't gonna go into that too much concerning this thing here to the older man. But just to recap some of the things, you see, the man feel that, you know, we're not on to him. Yes, we on to him. We know exactly what is taking place. Exactly. Yes, we know what's taking place. We know the lengths, the heights, the breadth. One night now, looking, open up a can of worms here this afternoon. And open up a can of worms. Although I didn't prepare to say anything on that. But let God be truth and everybody a liar. I'm gonna leave that alone for now. But I go invite Victor Roberts here, not invite him here, but he have a show to commence here in which he will talk about this whole thing in full. Now, Trinidad and Tobago, that's a microcosm of the behavior of what is taking place in central government. Now, to come in closer to the end of the program, now, Amy Brown would have said something, and then Philip and all of them would have went on the attack concerning that, in which they would have said they keep on stifling the voices of the opposition in parliament. And then they come in here now to cry and say that some letter let me bong now to say it.
Shamed by what the Prime Minister had to deliver. Few observations, again attacking the zone of peace. It's as if she's addicted to a misinterpretation of that particular concept. confusing a zone of peace with domestic crime circumstances. The two are unrelated. Once again, the zone of peace, as every leader who sat there listening to her shaking her head knows, treats with how leaders within our region interact with each other and how sovereign states interact with each other in the absence of hostility, military threats, and aggression. That's what the zone of peace is. It has nothing to do with your domestic circumstances with respect to crime. The Prime Minister went further and denigrated the approach, the public health approach to violent crime. She referred to it as a gimmick. Not acknowledging that a number of countries that we do business very closely with treat with crime as a public health issue as their official public policy. I can give you some examples. Sweden, Brazil, Australia, Kenya, and guess what? The United States of America. So maybe when she was harvesting her talking points, she neglected to acknowledge that even in the United States of America, violent crime and gun crime are considered as serious public health issues and emergencies.
Now, on the last point before we close off this, I would show you the behavior of Chanka Tillotson. And let me show you how the speaker behaved within Parliament. Now, the government feel that they're already reaching them. And that is why we urge you, Trinidad and Tobago, we urge members of the public that there is a public meeting in the area of Tunapuna in which the opposition is calling. We will be there, we will be present, and are hoping that I see many of you. We have to talk this thing through, you know. We can't allow, we should not allow this government to behave in the manner that they behave. Take a look at this video.
In this country, and be transparent, come forward, speak to the people, take the people in your confidence. You are the leaders, speak to the people with confidence. And when there is a vacuum of information, you leave room for mischief, Mr. Speaker. This country is lacking in leadership, and there's a vacuum of leadership in this country. There's a vacuum of leadership in this country, lacking in credibility. Tell us the reason why you call the state of emergency. When we were called to this extraordinary sitting of the Parliament, tell us what is the present status of these matters. Tell us what it is about. But Mr. Speaker, things got very worse. It got worse since the state of emergency was declared, Mr. Speaker. Because during that time, the Attorney General or the Commissioner of Police said that there was no threat to the lives of public officials, or rather politicians. That's what the Commissioner of Police told us. But 2 hours after, the Attorney General, speaking to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, told the media, well, if it wasn't, meaning the state of emergency, if it wasn't successful, the building, or basically saying that, you know, that there were some rocket launchers that could have destroyed the Attorney General's office. But because he was standing there speaking to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, the state of emergency was successful. Paraphrasing what he's saying. The mere fact that I'm talking to you, this is what he said. The mere fact that I'm talking to you, it shows that the state of emergency is successful. Conflicting what the Commissioner of Police told the country hours ago, you know. Because the Commissioner of Police said that there were no threats to any politician. Undermining credibility, Mr. Speaker. That's the point. And when you lack credibility, the people will not believe anything that you say. And you had the opportunity here today to speak clearly to the people of Trinidad and Tobago in the midst of mayhem, bacchanal, and pandemonium, and again you failed as well. Fail on that greed. Mr. Speaker, the Attorney General spoke and he made reference to Jamaica and the use of states of emergencies in Jamaica to deal with gangs, gang violence, and what have you. But I thought that the Attorney General would have made reference to a very recent decision in the courts of Jamaica that literally said or struck down the use of state of emergencies to fight crime. Because you see, 1 minute it is to deal with a specific threat and not to fight crime, and another minute you boast and say, well, it is reducing crime. You can't have it both ways. You cannot speak. How much size of your mouth you will speak to the people of Trinidad and Tobago? We are not fools. Speak clearly and speak with confidence and speak truthfully to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And in 6 months, your credibility has gone to zero.
A half a minute plus your 15 minutes. I propose to take the tea break at 4:30. 4:30. Very well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. But this judgment, Mr. Speaker, and I will not go into it, but the judgment said, as my colleague from Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, said, and he alluded to on numerous occasions, is that the use of state of emergency as declared by the Jamaican court, you must demonstrate some urgency, some immediacy in a threat to the public that warrants the declaration of a state of emergency. And if you cannot demonstrate that, then it is a misuse of a state of emergency to deal with crime and to suppress gang violence. I thought the Attorney General would have made reference to it. He made no reference to it. I thought the member for Barataria San Juan would have made reference to this very critical judgment. And having listened to the Attorney General, because he said we will do, and I'm paraphrasing, that the reference to Jamaican case or state of emergency to address gang warfare, hotspot zones, etc., he said this is exactly what we plan to do. Basically telling the people of Trinidad and Tobago and the entire region that we plan to do exactly what the Jamaican experiment is about. And where recently the court in Jamaica declared that to be unconstitutional because it has not satisfied the test of urgency and immediacy for the declaration of a state of emergency. We are a democratic institution. We are a democratic country. And when we entered into this parliament, we took an oath of office, Mr. Speaker, to uphold the Constitution and the law. And nothing that the member for Tabakit, the Attorney General, or the member of Parliament for Barataria San Juan, nothing they said that convinced the people of Trinidad and Tobago, more so the people in members of this House, that what the government is prepared to do on this matter cannot be done outside of a state of emergency. It is a misuse of the state of emergency to trample upon the rights of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Speaker. The government has failed once again to come forward and put relevant information to convince this country that the circumstances exist in Trinidad and Tobago that warrants the declaration or the continuation of a state of emergency. And all of them who speak, and those who will never speak, their credibility will continue to go down. And those who cannot speak.
So on Friday, on the 6th of March, that is today's Thursday, tomorrow is Friday, on the 6th of March, in Tunapuna Community Center, for 6:30 p.m. there will be 3 lawyers. I would have seen that on the opposition page. Renaissance Jeffrey, is going to be there, matter of fact. You see where the people is, the opposition have to know that the people is standing with her. You know? The opposition have to know that the people that use the last resort at this point in time, I don't know. So I will be there, and I'm hoping that many of you will be there tomorrow for 6:30 p.m. Be seated by 6:30 p.m. The opposition and 4 lawyers, including Larry Lala. And I'm hoping that many of you in Trinidad and Tobago seize the opportunity as to be there or be square. This might be the very last chance we might have to stand up. So I am calling on the community of Trinidad and Tobago, protect your democracy. At this point in time, stand up with the opposition and protect your democracy. Demand accountability from this ruthless government. My name is Renaissance Jeffrey. This is the Workers' Rights Platform. We are broadcasting live on the Workers' Rights Network. Thanks for watching Trinidad and Tobago, and I am out for today. Don't worry about yourself, we go be here again tomorrow. Tomorrow, it might not no show because we might have to be present there, and I don't know if we will carry up some equipment there where we could bring this thing live. But to those who have my number, or you can reach out to me, let's have a conversation concerning what is taking place. What's your recommendation? Let me solve crime here together. That's what I'm saying. It has to be real or nothing at all. Hey, my partner. I'll talk to my partner next time. Partner, I'll go talk to you in our next time. I'm going to come off of this thing here. So, tomorrow, all road leads to Tunapuna Community Center. All road leads to Tuna. Let me answer this call here. Good evening, partner. I'm signing on a live here. Good evening. Uh-huh. Yeah, well, we gotta do that. Yeah, we did accomplish that. Yeah, we did accomplish that yesterday, last night. Just now. Let me call you back. Let me end off this program here. I'll call you back now. Yeah, brother. Right, but brother get a little heat today, boy. Oh God. The man started cuss on the line. Everybody saying that this thing illegal. And it's true, it's illegal. And I am not following that bullshit that they're talking about, to be quite honest. So all roads lead to Tunapuna. All roads lead to Tunapuna on Friday. Emergency Powers Regulation, the topic, the SOE. Tunapuna Community Center at 6:30 p.m. Honorable Penny Penelope Beckers will be there.